Hello everyone. Welcome to this video on the speaking component of the English paper. Today with us on the sets we have Gibran. Hello Gibran.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Welcome and thank you for joining us. So Gibran has been given a set of prompts that now appear on the screen. The topic is related to television. So Gibran, are you ready?
Yes.
Should we get started?
Yes.
Great. So tell us, what is your favorite television program?
So I do not watch much television now, but when I was younger, I used to enjoy watching cartoons. And one of my favorite cartoons was a cartoon called Johnny Test.
Okay.
It's a cartoon about a boy, his two sisters and their pet dogs, and all the antics they get up to.
All right.
And I used to really enjoy watching it after coming back from school. And so I have very fond memories of the cartoon, and occasionally I like to look back at it. On the more documentary side of things, I used to enjoy watching a documentary called Mayday on National Geographic. And it's about plane accidents, real life situations, and it elaborates on the search for wreckage, the situations, the investigations afterwards, and the technical analysis behind the crashes.
Okay, sounds heavy and scary.
It is slightly scary, but especially when they used to animate the crashes. But it's still very fascinating to see how one small decision, something seemingly insignificant, can lead to countless loss of life.
Okay.
And this I still am very fascinated with planes. And this used to tie in very well with my hobbies for planes.
Okay, let's move on now. So do you think that television is important in our lives?
Television definitely is important in our lives. And one of the very big advantages of television that we do not see with other modes of communication is that people can come together around the television. So for example, at home, occasionally during football matches, we all sit around the television, we sit on the sofa, we're all together watching the same thing. And it's the same thing for occasionally when there's a movie night.
Yeah.
We're here, we're together as a family, we're all bonding, we're discussing the same things.
That's awesome.
And this is very nice. And there's also the fact that the television is a very important source of news. The news channels on TV tend to be very reputable, have good information, which cannot be said for other platforms such as Instagram and TikTok, where the information can be, while sometimes true, is not always the case. And older people, especially those who are less technology literate, have access to good quality news. And for them, it's much easier to go on TV than, say, open a laptop, figure out how to go online.
Indeed. Yeah. What about students? Do you think television is important in your lives?
I think so. So, for instance, I'm a science student. I study the sciences at school. And I find that occasionally I watch documentaries on, say, National Geographic or TED Talks. And these, whilst not necessarily linked to the context of the syllabi at school, help me broaden my knowledge and just my general appreciation for the way things are around me.
That sounds interesting. While you are giving us so many positive influences of television, television nonetheless also has a negative influence on people. Would you talk to us about it?
Yes, I think the main disadvantage with television is that it can be very addictive.
Yeah.
So for instance, I think especially in younger people, there's this tendency to start watching the television and then just spend a lot of time watching it. So for instance...
Has it ever happened to you?
It has, yes.
Okay.
So we start watching something and then for 30 minutes, we say we watch for 30 minutes before going to school.
Yeah.
30 minutes becomes an hour and then before we know it, we're late for school. And this is something many of my peers have told me, that for instance, in the morning, they want to watch a football commentary on the match the night before.
Yeah, all the highlights.
Yes, the highlights. And then they end up watching the entire match.
Okay.
And this is, so yes, this potentially can be an issue. And especially for younger people where they come home maybe after school, they watch a lot of television.
Yeah.
So they lose out on their social interactions. They don't go outside, they don't play.
Yeah.
And they don't do their homework.
Okay, yeah, that's the scary part.
Yes.
And what about as an extension? Do you think it can lead to a sedentary lifestyle?
Yes, definitely it can, because you remain seated, you don't want to move, you You have your entertainment, everything you
Yeah.
want right in front of you.
Yeah. What about young adults? We often hear of binge watching.
Yes. This is something even I do occasionally.
Yes,
And
occasionally, good.
and once in a while it's fine.
Yeah, indeed.
But it can become this recurrent cycle where every week you sit down, you watch an episode or season of your choice.
Yeah, it starts with an episode.
Yes, it does. And before you know it, your weekend is gone and you're back to Monday.
Without
Things
any
start again,
homework
without
done.
any homework done. And this can potentially be problematic.
Gibran, there are also these two views about television. Let us look at them. One view is that television programs contain far too much physical and verbal violence. And this other view is that television is a good platform to learn and improve language. Do you agree with these?
So I think regarding the first opinion, which I think is very debatable, violence in TV, I believe that violence in TV helps to improve the viewing experience. Who doesn't enjoy a good fight scene in a movie?
True.
And there exist different classification systems for movies. For example, there's U, PG, 13, 16, 18. And this helps to ensure that you can avoid content that might not be appropriate for your age.
True.
And I believe that it then becomes a responsibility of the parents to ensure that their children do not watch things that will not be appropriate for them.
True.
And the resources exist. There are parental locks,
Yeah.
and they should regulate what their children do. So yes, the violence can be an issue, but overall, it serves to improve the general experience.
Okay. What about verbal violence?
Verbal violence, I think it's a similar issue. It has to be, there exist classification systems, and it's up to the parent to ensure that their children do not do not watch things that they should not be watching.
Has it ever happened to you to witness or be part of any physical violence due to television?
I have witnessed it, not violence for the sake of violence, but children often whilst playing, they try to emulate the latest movies they've watched.
Yes.
So for instance, the Avengers movies came out a few years ago, and children wanted to play
Be a superhero?
to be their superheroes. And they play, but sometimes in play, whilst trying to emulate their superheroes, they do things that are slightly dangerous.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
that can harm their friends.
Have you ever come across verbal violence whereby students want to speak like their superheroes or want to sound cool like some of their superheroes?
Yes, this definitely. Because the verbal language becomes such a part of our own vocabulary that
Yes.
naturally, even without trying sometimes,
Yes.
we emulate this vocabulary.
Indeed, indeed. What about this second opinion, Gibran, that television is a good platform to learn and improve language? Do you agree?
I think I definitely agree with this. So for instance, for many people, especially here in Mauritius, where French and Creole are our first languages,
True.
we pick up our other languages, English, Hindi, Urdu, different languages.
Yes.
We pick up these languages through programs on TV. We watch movies, television shows in these languages. And then we pick up this language, and it's very natural. Because
Have you ever used this tool to improve your language?
not specifically with the aim of improving my language, but it has happened in a very natural way.
Awesome.
However, we sometimes have a tendency to pick up maybe SMS language or slang, but this is minor inconvenience compared to the benefits of the language benefits.
That's great. Thank you very much for being with us, Gibran. We've come to the end of this conversation. It was lovely having you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
After watching this session, let us now look at the points to remember. The individual talk should be well explored and provided with most details. The student must share his thoughts and opinions. Explain, for example, which is his favorite show? When does he watch television? Is there a specific program that he likes watching? Is there any program that he watches with family or avoids watching with the family? In the first prompt, further exploration of the issue is needed. Not only make a list of why TV is important, but also elaborate on the importance. Here, the candidate can widen his conversation by talking of the importance TV holds in the life of an adult, a kid, a student, or a teenager. In the second prompt, the candidate must share his views, give examples of the negative influences, present various perspectives. They can talk about the negative influence on students, young kids, adults, and state examples. In the third prompt, there is a need for a proper debate where balanced views are important. The candidate makes his stand clear, which could be siding with one opinion or with both. When preparing for a conversation with the examiner, it would be helpful for the students to be ready to elaborate ideas, facts, and share their thoughts. While talking, the language needs to be grammatically correct, and they must make sure to use a good range of grammatical structures. The conversation needs to be as natural as possible, so the candidates must try to share thoughts and maintain a conversation. They need to, of course, speak clearly. It is always an added advantage when students manage to express their views, share stories, share experiences. This is a list of topics that students need to prepare. Let us have a look. We have reached the end of this video. Thank you very much for your attention, and I wish you all the best for your coming papers.